Hey guys, welcome back. This is going to be part 2 of the Donkey Kong 3 restoration. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to sand down both sides of the cabinet, this thin laminate material that they have on here, get it all scuffed down with 180 grit, and then I got to come back and fill in all these nicks and scratches and dents. They're pretty much everywhere. So I'm going to use my DA sander with 180 grit, and I'm just going to go over it. I'll just show you how I'm going to go over it, and then I'll stop the camera. I'll get the side sanded down. I'll probably do both sides and the front and everything, and then we'll come back, mix up some filler, and then start putting some filler on these spots. Okay, so you can see the, all the low spots. That's a dent, that's a dent. There's a chip up here, another one right here. They're all over the place. Little tiny imperfections everywhere. So I'm gonna sand down both sides in the front, and then we're gonna start filling these in. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is mix up a little bit of this stuff called Bondo glass. What I'm going to do with this is hit any of the big nick areas or where little pieces of the corner of the cabinet are missing. I'm going to fill it with this because this has fiberglass hair inside of it. So that will bond it together. And if you look here, you can kind of see how it's strand. But we're going to mix up a little bit of this first, and we're going to hit all the heavy areas. I did put a little bit of filler on a few spots on the cabinet because I'm fixing a bumper cover in a little spot on a car right now, and I had a little bit extra filler, so I just stuck a little bit on the one side of the cabinet, but it was nowhere near enough to do what I needed to do, but it didn't want to waste it. So, all right, we're just going to mix up a little bit of this because I don't think there's too many spots that we need to put it on. Can always mix up more if I need to. I like to use this stuff first, obviously, for the base because it's the strongest. It takes a little bit to dry. It's probably 75, 80 degrees today, so it shouldn't take too long. And then we could sand these spots down, and then we can start doing some body filler. But I'll show you. So basically, when you mix this stuff, make sure you guys fold it over. Don't stir it. Stirring it creates air bubbles. And then you'll have pinholes in your bodywork, and you don't want that, because then you're going to be fixing those later with some icing or glazing putty, whatever you guys use. So I'm just mixing this up here, and we're going to go over here and get all the big nick areas done first. Hopefully I have enough mixed up. I broke one of my legs on my tripod, so bear with me here. But yeah, I'm doing a little repair on that bumper cover there, so I had a little bit left over, so I put a little bit on just a few spots on this side. Obviously it was nowhere near enough, but okay, if you look here, like on this back edge, let me get the camera set up here. I gotta fix this one leg on the tripod. You can sort of see right here these nicks where these always do this. These cabinets get beat up on the back edge here, but it's a little nicked up. So we're just gonna get rid of the loose wood, and we are gonna fill it in with a little bit of this Bondo glass. We're going to let it overhang the edge, and then we'll come back and sand it straight. Want to make sure you fill it in good, even the inside edge, so that it's nice and strong. You have a nice solid surface built up. Who cares what it looks like on this coat, because all we're trying to do is accomplish building that edge back up. I know we got another one right here. And then there's several on the other side. Now these nicks right here, I'm not worried about. These are in the center of the panel. That's easy just to use regular filler on that stuff. This corner isn't bad either. We can use regular filler on that. So on this side, oh, I gotta fix this thing. I ran it into the wall by accident and it broke one of the leg things that hold the legs on. This stuff's already drying because it's warm out, and I mixed a little bit extra hardener in it. So, looks like I'm gonna have to mix up a little bit more, but you guys get the idea here. So what I'm doing is just filling in these edges with this stuff first. So these are tiny little nicks up higher, which I'm not gonna worry about. I'll get those with the regular filler, but we pretty much got them all the big stuff. So I'm gonna let that dry for a little bit, and then I'll come back and we'll sand it and put another coat on. Okay, let's sand down some of these edge spots here. You don't want to use your DA sander on this part. You could use it on this part, but you don't want to use it on this part, because what will happen is when that's rotating, it's going to end up ripping this off, and then you'll be right back where you started. So basically just take a block sander and go down your edges like this. And it takes a little bit of time, especially with this fiberglass filler, because this stuff is definitely harder to sand than Bondo. So I'm going to keep blocking this edge, and then we'll come back and hit the flat spots with the DA sander. Okay, sorry about that, I got interrupted. Okay, now I'm going to sand the flat surfaces with my DA sander to knock this down. Now you can see how it's nice and straight again. We don't have those big nicks and dents. We have some little nicks here, which will hit with the regular Bondo, but the big chunks that were gone are pretty much gone. This needs a little bit done right here. That's just regular filler we need to put there. So what I'm going to do is, I have some Bondo in certain spots. I kept taking the extra leftover stuff when I was working on that car earlier and just applied it to some of these spots just so I didn't waste it. Obviously I got more to go. I still have to sand down this corner with the block and the DA. I've been using 80 grit sandpaper on this fiberglass stuff because it's hard to sand. And then all the other stuff I usually just use 180. So I'm going to knock down all these spots on the cabinet. I'm going to blow it off. I'm going to come back and we're going to put a coat on everything. And then after that, I should be able to sand it down and it should be ready for primer. So I'm going to go ahead and knock down all these first, these spots, these first coat, and then we'll go from there. Okay, all those spots are sanded down, so now we're gonna mix up some more filler and we're gonna start really tuning these in, and hopefully this will be the last coat. Not positive yet, but we'll see what happens. So we're gonna get some filler mixed up here. And remember not to stir it, just to fold it over. We're actually gonna switch hardeners because I'm almost out of the one. And it doesn't matter if you use red hardener or blue hardener, it's all the same. One might dry quicker than the other. I am getting low on hardener. Thought I had more. Yep, let's see how much is in here. Huh, might have to buy an extra tube of hardener. We're not gonna mix up a ton at one time because it'll dry too fast. So we might have to mix up a couple batches. And it's pretty hot. It's 80 some degrees, I think, right now in the shop. So I'm not gonna use a ton of hardener. Let's see if that does. See if it's enough to get it to set up. When it's cooler out, you'll end up using more hardener. When it's warm out, you can use less. So I'm gonna stir this up for a minute and then we are going to start putting this on. So we'll head back over to the cabinet. And I'm gonna try to get every single spot that I could see. Sometimes you miss a few. Now after we prime it and sand the primer, if there's still a few spots missing, we can go over it with that glazing putty or icing, whatever you wanna call it. So I'm just gonna go around and make sure I get everything coated good this time. You want to put it on as smooth as you can. If you have a big divot, put it on a little bit thicker because you're going to need it to fill in. But once you get the hang of this method, it's actually really quick. It doesn't have to take a long time, nor do you have to let it dry for a long period of time either. These Nintendo cabinets are notorious for these edges peeling, like delaminating the plywood. Every single one I've done has this. I think this stuff's gonna set up pretty quick. And usually, you'll never get it on the first coat. You usually always end up putting two. Unless it's something very minor. And then some of the real minor stuff, because you're using a filler primer, a lot of times the filler primer will take out the imperfection if you put enough coats on. And we're gonna probably put 3 coats on here, so we should have plenty to work with. There's a bunch of little nicks everywhere. Okay, I think we're pretty good on this side. So let's go over to the other side. And we can start filling in these ones. People are still lighting off fireworks around here. Getting this back edge here where the door goes. We still need to make a back door for this cabinet too. Maybe we'll do that on Sunday when we fix the base of the cabinet. Maybe we'll make the back door at the same time. since I'll have the tools out, we can just get it over with. I gotta pick up another sheet of birch plywood, 1/2 inch. Looks like I almost mixed up enough. Okay, I'm gonna have to mix up a little bit more and then just hit a couple more spots. I'm not gonna record that part. And then we'll come back and we're gonna sand it down, and I'm gonna run the camera for a couple minutes while I'm sanding down one side so you guys can see how long it takes. Okay, this coat is dry. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna video just this whole side, just to give you guys an idea of how long it takes to sand. If you're using a DA sander, either air powered or electric, they both work the same in my opinion. You can get a pretty nice electric one, like a DeWalt or a Milwaukee or something like that, and it'll work just as good as this air one. So let's get this sanded. I've just put on a new piece of 180 grit sandpaper, and let's knock this down real quick. Remember when you're sanding to keep your sander completely flat on the surface. Don't go rocking it, because if you rock it like this, you're going to put grooves and gashes into your cabinet, and it's not going to look good. Okay, I'm going to grab a new piece of 180 grit, and we're going to get these edges real quick. Anything that's hanging over. And as you can see, it only takes a couple minutes. This doesn't have to take you weeks to get done. If this is something you guys are, planning on doing a lot of, or you have, a bunch of projects, invest in some tools. You don't got to buy the best tools. I'm here to tell you right now, you don't need to go buy DeWalt and Milwaukee and all that stuff, if you're just doing this stuff on the side, you know, for fun on the weekends, it's not worth the money. Go to Harbor Freight, get yourself some good tools from there, you'll be just fine. I use my tools for work, so that's why I do have better ones, because they're used every single day. So that's what makes the difference. But, you know, I do have quite a few Harbor Freight tools, and I have no problems with them whatsoever. Okay, for the most part, I'm happy with this side. There's a few little spots that I'm not happy with, but I'm gonna sand the front and the other side, and then I'll just go around and get the last couple little spots that I wanna look a little nicer. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side in the front, and then we'll come back and we'll hit the couple spots that I don't like. Okay, I'm mixing up some more filler here. Now, you know, one thing I've learned over the years of doing cars and arcade cabinets and finished carpentry and tile work for people is, if you have to ask yourself or convince yourself that you're all right with something and the way something looks, you're not all right with it. And just take the extra little bit of time and just fix it, because in the end, you're gonna be much happier. Could I get away with not putting any more filler on this cabinet? Yes. If I put enough primer on it, I could probably be all right with it. But the extra half an hour that this is going to take me to that next level where it'll look even better, to me, it's worth it, because then I know I'm putting out a good product in the end. You know what I mean? Like, I just try to do things to the best of my ability, and I'm always trying to push myself to do better, you know? Because you can always improve. But I wanted to get this in primer tonight, but it's going on 10 o'clock and I have an arcade pickup tomorrow. But the downfall is I have 12 hours of driving round trip, and that's without stopping. So I'm gonna be gone most of the day tomorrow. We gotta get up early. So I might just have to primer this tomorrow when I get home tomorrow night. I have to paint that bumper and stuff on that car I was working on earlier tomorrow night too, when I get home. But I might sneak this in there and just spray it tomorrow and make a separate video for that. And then, because then I'll look over the cabinet one more time, make sure I didn't miss anything. I just want it to be nice for this guy. Nice guy, I want to make sure everything's as good as we can get it. You know, nothing's ever perfect. But we can do our best. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and use this on a couple spots on the other side, and then I'm gonna come back and sand it down. Okay, I'm ready to sand these last couple spots for tonight. the other side and I'll come back. All right, it's all sanded down. I did find a couple more spots I put a little bit on, especially on the back here. I put some along the bottom and some where the lock goes. 1 or 2 spots over here. But we're gonna call it a night. This is gonna be part 2 of the Donkey Kong 3 restore. Tomorrow when I get home, I will just sand those couple spots down. We'll get it in the spray booth and we will primer it. And then on Sunday, we can work on the base of it. There is a little bit of a messed up corner here on this inside edge, and I already put some Bondo on it. I'm not gonna worry about it until after I primer the cabinet, because when I have it laying on its back and I'm making a new bottom, I can address that and fix that corner down there. So, all right guys, that's gonna end part 2. If you guys are liking what you're seeing, please like, subscribe. Any questions or comments, feel free to ask. Other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow.